when I joined or rejoined Fnatic back in 2015, it was a bit awkward between me and Fabian at first because I think like we didn't really know how to approach each other, and I was so focused on like getting back into the team and working like together with Bora again, and I kind of like didn't really put any emphasis at all on building our relationship. So it wasn't actually until we went to boot camp in Korea in 2015 where me and him started spamming EULCS together, because me and Fabian flew there together and we talked a lot on the plane, and then when we got there we went to a cafe and we just played together. And then pretty much ever since that point we've always been like piff and puff, you know. It's actually been quite crazy, and I was really disappointed to see us letting him go to H2K. I don't think there was any hard feelings between me and Fabian when he left, because I was actually one of the few who were fighting for him the most to stay in Fnatic, because yeah, as I said, I just valued all of the skill sets that he brought, and I just thought that him staying in Fnatic would be the most optimal fit for the team. But I'm pretty happy for him. I wish that H2K is really successful and that we don't have to face him in the quarterfinals, even though it's looking like it right now. Because after all, like he's still one of my closest friends, if not my closest friends actually, that I have here in Berlin. Fabian is someone you should value because he actually brings a great amount to a team, and I think that's actually one of the reasons as to why H2K is as successful as they are as well, because he's just one of the best mid laners out there, and he really tries hard to make things work inside the team, and I'm sure Jankos really enjoys working with him as well.
Yeah, they'll just be like...
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the European LCS 2017 Spring Split, and man, I mean, that's a tearjerker right there.
But don't you just love it when Rek'L says he wishes H2K would be successful, and the very series they play against them, they are successful.
So far, so good anyways. We still got a couple more games to play, right?
Be careful what you wish for, I would say. And no, it's really great to see Febiven, because coming into the season, there was the question, will we see 2015 Febiven or 2016 Febiven here
very
now
different players.
In 2017? Definitely very different approach, and they're different players. And I think we're seeing the former a lot more here. There's really great movement from him, sidesteps on skill shots. He's playing pressure heavy, but he's also playing for the team. He's constantly using that pressure to disappear into the river, maybe add some pressure to top lane or to the bot lane. He's been setting up contests with Jankos, so I was really happy, rather, to see that.
Yeah, and he does seem immune to kind of being even ganked and stuff in lane. He's been playing it safe. Obviously, last game, not a whole lot of gank attempts because Broxah was a bit tied up, but at the same time, H2K all over are looking like a good team. Now, they chose blue side for number 2. So they will be on that once again, and we'll see what they bring out this time. I want to see Fnatic adapt in the picks and bans. Probably, I bet he still has a lot up his sleeve.
Yeah, Fnatic definitely just looking for lanes that can contest the early game a lot more. You cannot draft 3 losing lanes. It's not supposed to happen, especially not when IEM has shown that Graves is so strong as a duelist jungler and can kind of abuse that, especially around these repeated Raptor invades that the analysts then repeated as well. Like, it was very clear-cut what the key moments were in Game 1. Luckily, there's a full reset here. These guys are experienced veteran players, most of them, so it could definitely be in a completely different game right now.
Yep, they get to take a step back, take a breather, get ready for Game 2. And, well, speaking of it, we're just about to load up into Champion Selection, so let's get into that. See what Fnatic change up this time around. If H2K change up anything at all, it looked good for them. Couple of points we have to knock off for not always respecting where Fnatic were, but let's see if that changes.
H2K still have their typical kind of late game, I think we can call it greed, where they just see a play and they just assume it'll work out, and nobody stops to think, is it really worth the risk we're taking here, and what if it fails? And some of these safety checks and maybe just slightly more, not hesitation, but slightly more patience, I think, is necessary for H2K in the late game.
Still time for them to learn it yet. Now, so far what we are seeing, just about the exact same picks and bans, but there's an adaptation. The Lee Sin removed on the first rotation for H2K.
Okay, maybe that means they just want to draft jungle a little earlier here on the side of H2K, really get that favorable matchup themselves.
Let's see, the Z ban, now that hasn't changed, so Fnatic clearly keeping to their guns. This leaves Varus open once again, though.
Has to be the Varus early, I would imagine, unless the Graves has really risen in priority that much that you would early lock it in.
Odo's having a little bit of fun with it, but yeah, it'll definitely be that Varus this time. Of course, you have to think it's going to immediately then go back to Reckless and be the Jhin pickup.
You would think Fnatic, when put under heavy pressure, have whipped out unconventional picks. Even at this very moment last year, when Fnatic returned from Katowice, that's where Reckless was playing all that Jhin, right? Where nobody else was playing it. So you could technically see him pick something else here, but Fnatic, they're saying, you know what? The problem wasn't the draft. It was just the early game.
Well, there you go. Well, we'll have to wait to see if it changes this time around. And I think it's good you mentioned the early, the pre-Katowice kind of buff thing, too, because H2K, they look like they definitely were the benefactors of it this time around. And now they've changed things up a lot in the Malzahar for...
Yeah, last year, Fnatic, they went to IM Katowice, and they came back a lot stronger. They went for the kind of the late season surge. H2K went to Katowice right now. And we'll have to see if they get stronger. Hopefully for them, they do. Similar pick and bans here. Syndra has an answer to Jace. Obviously don't want to wait with that because then you get the ban on that in the second phase. There's no jungle picked up right now, so we're at least hoping for adaptation on the side of Fnatic.
Yeah, there we have the Lulu. So now Fnatic's bottom lane is all rounded out. Back to pick ban phase 2, I should say.
Yeah, they don't pick up the early Kha'Zix here. They realize that to get a jungler in the game, it's actually better to pick a support that can match the push in the bot lane, because that can enable many more junglers to do their job. It doesn't matter if you pick Kha'Zix early, but then you draft a Braum in bot versus Karma, you will just get pushed in. Now with the Malzahar locked in, obviously they know the push power of the H2K bot lane, and they know they can at least somewhat deal with it on their own.
Yep, so there is the Graves ban by Fnatic. It's matched by a Rumble ban of H2K. Obviously, both teams yet to pick up their top laners. That tends to fall towards the last, but jungler's also not gone yet. So we'll see what's up next. The Ivern banned away by Fnatic. H2K, do they ban another jungler themselves, or another top lane, I should say?
Yeah, they could kind of hope that Fnatic opt in for first dibs on jungle, and then H2K need to dig deeper, but then H2K get the preferential top laner. So they could squeeze that pool right now if they maybe ban Maokai, pick Nautilus themselves, if they want to do that.
EULCS has played a lot of junglers this split too. I don't think he's going to have too much trouble finding something that's still available in the pool. I mean, he even picked up the Warwick in a game.
Yeah.
Don't think it's coming this time, but you know, I can hope.
There's the Maokai ban, so this puts pressure on Fnatic. Do we get the priority jungler to make Broxah shine, or do we find an answer for Nautilus? Because it does look like H2K would just love to play the Nautilus again in the top lane.
Yeah, Fnatic, maybe they'll grab it themselves. Still, they would give over more jungle priority. You can see
I would.
was thinking.
If I was Fnatic, I would just go for Nautilus here instead of the jungle priority.
But it's going to be the Elise. Something we actually saw Jankos going back to at IEM. So it's locked in now for Broxah.
It's much more prevalent over in a lot of the eastern regions to see that Elise, and people really utilize the snowball potential, potential early Moby boots to really take control of the map or just have the pick potential from the jungler. But now if you look at H2K's composition, if they round it out with Nautilus Kha'Zix, it's a fine draft. It's a composition that has a mix of AP and physical damage. It has 3 damage dealers, maybe 3.5 if you count Malzahar, and it has tanky frontline. And it has targeted lockdown with Syndra QE and Malzahar ultimate. So technically, well-rounded.
Yeah, sounds like they've definitely done their homework once again. Seconds tick away, and one thing that was still left up and available is the Shen. That would also provide quite a lot for
I think Fnatic has because the Fnatic has the counter pick on top here. H2K may fear like a trundle pick into this Nautilus, but I still think it's the best option of the ones remaining.
And there it is. So proving you're right, or at least proving that they agree with you there, Crepo. H2K, lineup all locked in. Solid laundry list. All the boxes ticked for them. Over to Fnatic, the last pick is going to be for Soaz. What does he take to complement this squad?
No.
A Rumble available. Clearly anticipating this.
Oh, yeah. That's also a meta pick that has been carrying over slowly. The Gragas in the top lane.
It's locked in.
Yeah.
We'll see that one for Fnatic's side. So it looks like these guys have a pretty solid, honestly, early and mid game on the Fnatic's lineup.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not as absolute as last game. I'm not as well versed in the Gragas Nautilus matchup to know who gets it to push early. I think it mostly depends on which jungler is around and how much pressure there is. If kind of Odoana wants to brute force, I imagine he can get the lane pushed. But it's not as clear cut here, especially neither so in the bot lane. And it's also not that easy for a Kha'Zix to abuse, for example, Elise. Even if these lanes get pushed, like Graves can really abuse people in the jungle because he has a sustained clear, has a kind of a lower CD gap closer, and has AoE on his like pellets for Raptor invades. To walk into an Elise's jungle, you need to know exactly where she is, because if you walk into Cocoon, you're screwed.
Well, I think Jankos definitely has to know that one, so we could see a very different early game than we saw last time around. Fnatic did adapt, not in the first rotation, but they definitely mixed it up after the fact. We'll see if they can fire back in game number 2. H2K, I mean, a very convincing win on the board for this team, not without mistakes, but they really gave Fnatic almost no chances to get back into that game. And if you think they are going to be able to do it again, H2K win is the hashtag you want to be tweeting at LOL Esports. But if you believe in Fnatic, hashtag FNC win one more time as we get ready to load up into this game.
Yeah, looking for redemption here on the side of Fnatic. Early game jungle on Broxa, he has shined so bright in the past. Brighter than a diamond. Challenger Lee Sin plays in that early game previously. Can he do the same? Can he mimic that performance on the Elise?
He's going to have a tough task of it up against Jankos, up against this H2K squad, fresh off IEM, fresh off a big victory in game number 1. We'll find out what happens as they're about to lay it all on the Rift. Fnatic trying to fight back in game 2.
Yeah, one guy's excited.
And then everyone else gets excited.
And then suddenly everybody starts clapping.
Funny how that works.
And we see the adaptation here from Feven. Because he's playing against an Elise, an early aggressor with CC, he has to run Cleanse. So there's no like defensive exhaust versus a J-Cell in case of the 1v1. So
yep.
Summer is useless in a 1v1. Maybe cleansing exhaust, so that's it.
Yeah,
so
had the ghost last time.
So I was going for cheeky dash up the wall here.
Ooh, Nuclear knew what's up.
Oh, I like this. So I was waiting in the Dragon Pit in case Nuclear path upwards. If he goes into his own jungle right there.
Keeping all the options locked, but Nuclear took the safe route, went back. And Ward's going to stay on right now. And now that they know, now that H2K knows Fnatic have made moves down bottom, they get themselves a deep invade for some wards.
Yeah, and Jankos and Odoamne can actually start on the enemy Raptors here.
Ooh. Once again, this time no one's at home. As you said, you have to know where the Elise is.
Yeah, they have AoE, and it looks like Caps and Jezzes are going to leash the Raptors for Broxa, essentially dividing the map in two. But Soaz is playing a tank that should be able to survive, and he's also just going to hover here, I think, to watch for this invade. Or not.
He took a leisurely stroll through it at the very least. So this will end up being the trade of jungle camps. We'll see what that turns into as the game gets underway. Caps actually hanging around this side. Sends the shock blast.
He's just checking if they're up. They moved slightly, so technically he could know. And I'm not quite sure. I didn't see any pings here. Yeah. Kind of map split here. Jezzes will be late to lane. It does give the push to H2K's bot lane if they want to take it. And then it allows, again, that deep ward from Che if he's comfortable going to river. But he has to be careful for where the Elise is, of course. Because Jankos is spotted right now. Look at Che. Reaction is, he was pathing into river to go back to his own jungle, but now he knows he can just keep clearing Raptors into red. And that means that now Nuclear and Che have to stop pushing. They had the option to go there, but they know they can get ganked at any point, so they have to be very careful.
It's nice for Fnatic. It already slows down the tempo a little bit of this game and makes sure that they can't get rolling the same way they did last time around.
And more importantly, Broxa has yet to pass a single ward, so the Fnatic is playing with much more information, and that's why Nuclear and Che, again, they're yielding the push here. That's something they're very good at as a bot lane, knowing when to yield pressure and knowing when to kind of push on the advantage. But we see a much more even early game in terms of pressure.
Oh, yes, we do. Reckless and Jezzes, let's see if they can push this one in themselves. And there's no vision for either team outside of that tri-brush in this bottom lane, so maybe we could see Broxa making early moves.
And it all ties together, because there is more push on top and more control on bot lane. It doesn't allow Jankos to find and reveal Broxa in this particular matchup as well, and that makes Feven a lot more scared. Look how he's playing the same matchup he was last game, Syndra into Jace, but he's taking a much different approach here, because he can't just kind of, I call it like donkey push. It's where you just close your eyes and you just spam the minions and you hope the enemy jungler is not there. Like, he has to actually respect the possibility of ganks.
Definitely playing it back a lot more safe this time around. We won't see the early snowball yet for H2K, at least not in the same way. Odo and Soaz just poking each other up top, but that's not going to be an action-heavy lane. I really do want to keep eyes on Broxa this time around. Such a different game for him already. You really can't blame him too much, but he just got nothing last time.
No, Jankos was actually making fun of him in one of the rollouts earlier here. Some good combos though here. Feven just found Caps. Caps didn't find him back, so he's going to eat another sphere here on the return.
Autos. Oh, Rox is there. Oh, he's going to have to cleanse that Cocoon right quick.
It was all a ruse. It was all a bait. He missed the spells on purpose.
Just to bait him into fighting a little harder. Burns that summoner spell. It'll be back up.
So worth running cleanse though here, because it allows you to play so aggressive, because you know you can always get out of the Cocoon.
Odo and Soaz both a little low on the mana right now. A lot of vision for H2K though throughout this river and the jungle entrances. It allows Jankos to path through here relatively safe, and in fact he's matched on level with Broxa.
He's trying to find Broxa in his jungle, still on the first clear here.
He got him. Oh, jumps in. That's a lot of damage. The isolation coming through, but he doesn't run cleanse himself, so no Cocoon, sends the Void Spikes, and Broxa's skittering under tower. Soaz is there for defense.
Yeah, because they knew Caps based, so they knew the invade was safe, and the only one that collapsed was the Gragas, so that's why Odoamne was there quicker. Could see the pings come out. Like, they were ready for this play. They were guessing that Broxa was there. If not, they would take away his Raptor, so it would be a win-win play. as long as Yanko's got the support from his team, and he got it again.
Yep. Gonna force Broxa back to base a little earlier than he would have liked, and gives over those delicious Raptors. Yanko's still trying to keep this jungler on the back foot.
Could be great here if Reckless and Jesus can find a base, because then you can get Serrated Dirk upgrade, but you prevent or you block Varus from getting Dirk plus tier. The other way to do it is just to keep him in lane as long as you can, and then stall out past the tier gold. But if you force him back here early, you may not actually get the tier pickup.
Yeah, can slow things down, definitely. This team, that's the last thing Fnatic want. Be a little bit more behind on the 8 ball, or rather H2K, I should say. Broxa, still keeping eyes on him, but he's hanging around mid, and he realizes he still has a little bit of Raptors. No, they're all gone.
They're all gone here.
Sad days.
Everyone wants more Raptors, especially those pesky mid laners, man. Because those babies give you hella XP.
Yeah, why not Krugs though? They just keep on spawning.
Well, those are boring. Those are really hard to take. I've lost my love. When I lose my love for Krugs, you know something's wrong with the design.
Man, that's definitely dark, unfortunately. Let's take a look at what happened in the last time around. I think we all kind of know the story, but Broxa did get back on his feet with a couple of kills at the very least.
Yeah, but he was super far behind in experience, and it was a pressure game. And right now we need to track, because these guys are pivotal again, because this game is bang on even. 100 gold advantage, not even, for Fnatic right now. And Broxa is still looking for early picks. He needs to capitalize on the cleanse being down in mid. Otherwise, Jankos will obviously get some good scaling in here with those upgrades.
Yeah, mid lane definitely seems like the place to be. Jankos himself having a little bit of trouble with the wolf camps, but he should be able to finish him off, or maybe not. Holy moly, that was close.
He's waiting for his abilities.
Definitely gotta see if Broxa takes another trip down the mid, because Febvim doesn't have that cleanse for a few more seconds at the very least, and he is playing up, but he's been playing it out as safely as possible. It's hard to snowball this
He's
lane.
always leaning to the side where Broxa is not, because they have the deep vision. You know, they have a ward on red buff, and then they have a ward on Raptors. They know exactly where Broxa is in terms of which side of the map. They don't know what camp he's clearing, but as long as Fevrin leans left and he reads Caps' gameplay, he can always predict when he's getting ganked right there. That's why it's so hard for this Elise to find a mark. That's why you really need to respect Elise players that can consistently get kills, because they're working magic. Like, they're really reading the game very well.
And for Broxa, he's unfortunately only going to be able to read the fact that there's not much in his jungle, except the red buff spawning back up, so I'm completely corrected. Down in bot, Nuclear and Che continuing to trade. Now they know that they can push up and match a little bit of this pressure. There's a lot of Fnatic vision in this river, including the Tri-Brush right now, but Che's playing really aggressive, sends the Voidlings out, and a piercing arrow nails
really
Reckless.
Good poke right here, especially kind of when they're almost hitting level 6. Che is super close to that level up. At that point, you could even see flash all-ins happen.
Oh, might be soon enough.
Because the beauty of this combo is that you can flash R into then the Varus ultimate, and then you can buffer the silence, keep people locked down, and then your Voidlings, they go to town.
Like how Yanko snuck around by hopping over the pit. He's going to be able to get an Ocean Drake early for his team. Still, it's definitely a much slower paced game than the last time around, because even though there weren't a lot of kills early, H2K just had so many advantages on the map, and now they're just trying to find little ones. The gold, though, is still bang on even.
Yeah, H2K is definitely fine with this. They're definitely never going to get super outscaled, I feel like. With the Varus Syndra in late game, they have damage on their jungler, so at least falls off harder than Kha'Zix. It should be definitely okay for them to take it slow. They also pick up that dragon. That's something Jankos did plenty of times at IEM. Just need to see what pressure here they put, because every time they can guarantee their poke lands. Because at level 6, it's no longer feasible to dodge forward, right? Because you would walk into Voidlings and Malzahar ulti, so you would always need to dodge backwards, which means every arrow you shoot, as long as Malzahar's in range, it'll hit.
Nuclear's finding out. He definitely has true aim on this, continually pushing in the waves. The CS hasn't really been a huge difference in all honesty, but since neither AD carry is backed, it hasn't really changed much, and the junglers haven't paid much mind as expected. Yeah. But they might be meeting in the jungle, or in the river, I should say.
They're looking for river control right now. Look at Che, he peels off, he pings the dragon, he says, like, guys, I have one ward, I could place it here right next to my lane, but why don't we act as a team? They move into the jungle together. Look at Fevin, he was there as well, and now he's poking onto Caps.
And Jankos jumps through. Oh, power unleashed a little bit too soon. As Caps moved away, no Summoner's Burn.
Yeah, but there was the potential of Jankos flashing in there and going for the kill. That's the play they're setting up. Now Jesus gets caught.
Oh, another grasp onto Jesus right now. Exhaust is down onto Reckless. Okay, Wild Growth, self-cast. And the Voidlings are swarming, but Jesus is going to be able to whimsy his way away, but pings are already flying. You can see Jankos is smelling the blood right now. Caps and Broxa busy on blue buff.
Yeah, H2K with the first move. They leverage advantage, and he steals the blue buff.
Oh my goodness, Jankos.
That's massive right here.
That was great timing.
Because they're really swinging open the map here. And it all started with bot lane, turning on the action at the right time. They get the poke, which frees up Che. He groups with Jankos, covers him to get the pink ward. Then Febiven finds Caps. They know Jankos is quicker than Broxa because they got the vision. Then they invade together. Now Febiven can push for free because he is sitting on that lost chapter. There was no blue buff handed over at all. Like, it's all these little moves that add up together that get you map control. And I love that H2K is playing so much as a team. We barely see this from Fnatic. This is why the roster move from Amazing to Broxa was questioned, because there was never an issue with a single player. It was in their unity, in their teamwork, that a lot of questions were asked, and so far, no answers.
Still raising those questions, but for H2K, it's the same thing we complimented them for the last time around. Maybe it hasn't gotten rolling as fast, the draft not enabled it as much, but H2K are definitely looking good in this early game.
Yeah,
they can only tighten up a couple of those mistakes.
Yeah, they definitely they have stuff to work on, but from like a communication point of view, they're at a much better state than Fnatic right now, because Fnatic, even as late as like 2 or 3 weeks ago, they were opting for like Spell Thieves upgrades in lane over Sightstone. They were not helping each other. They continuously draft these lanes that get pushed in where their jungler kind of gets screwed, and they don't have the bigger picture in mind, as well as teams like G2 domestically, not at tournaments, and H2K.
Hey man, they beat some teams in best of threes. I was there, I saw it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's H2K, they definitely just have a much better sense of how to play together as a team overall.
Fnatic do know how to pull the trigger though. That is one
there we go.
of Soas's talents. He goes for an early TP behind enemy lines, hoping to catch Febiven off guard.
Stealthy Fat Man instantly forcing out the cleanse from Febiven, and he flashes away too for good measure the barrel. Now the Cocoon still lands, and they sink it in for a first blood. Teleport now coming in for Odo. Can H2K turn around this one? No, the curtain call's coming, and they have to get out of town. Goes Soaz once again. Odoamne gets the knockup. Chains of Corruption lands. Now Fnatic taking a little bit low, and they're stopped up for just a second. They turn their anchors over to Broxa. Can they finish him off? No. Piercing Arrow, not enough damage, but Soaz going down. Caps going to the sky, but he is also going down to 0. Trade kills. Nuclear gets 2.
Yeah, double kill here for Nuclear. This was actually one of the first times we see a slow fight from H2K where they change direction mid-fight. Very rarely do we see this from H2K, where they take it slow, they kite and it's like, can we turn? Yes, we can. And then they don't greet too far. They really focus frontline disengage. They force Caps to flash in, waste his summoners, and go for a 1-for-1. So this is actually a beautiful turnaround. I love this idea here from Soaz. The problem is with the new change to the Gragas ultimate, there's a channel time on, or like a travel time rather on the ultimate, so it's always possible to cleanse flash out of there. But right here, so many teams would just call disengage, disengage, and then right here with the beautiful ultimate from Odoamne, H2K actually realized we can turn. And they take it slow.
You can tell the exact moment when Odo was like, wait a minute, I am on Nautilus.
Yeah, I'm playing a tank, I just knocked up 3 people. There's a squishy Elise here. Caps goes in, he could have dropped much faster. If Nuclear's Q auto connected there, this could have been a 3rd kill for H2K.
Yeah, 2 for 2 though at 13 minutes into the game. It starts to go a little more in H2K's favor, 500 gold being the difference, but no towers. Fnatic are looking to change that, but their minion wave is running out of steam.
This is the old lane swap approach. When you lose the pressure advantage, the junglers invade. Beautiful punish here by Febiven.
Oh, and he looks like he was looking down to take down Caps, or take him out rather. No summoners available for either team, but available for either mid laner, I should say. Meanwhile, there's still a lot of action down bot.
Fnatic looking to split the map evenly. You know, we take bot side, you take top side, please step away. If H2K can aggressively defend this 3v4, they will get so much on top side, but it's dangerous.
Oh, yes it is, and the barrel knocks in Nuclear. Oh, he's gonna have to flash out of that, and Soaz goes too far. Nuclear gets a 3rd kill, and they save the tower. Meanwhile, Odo's unopposed up top.
It's really greedy to flash that barrel after you get hit there. If that was executed slightly better, I like the play from Fnatic. Nuclear would have got him 1 shot, and the punish was non-existent. The fact that he got his flash out right before Reckless connects a W means so much for this game.
And they also get the tower first blood. Odoamne just keeps on pushing.
Oh, he keeps on trucking right now.
Yeah.
Like H2K, they defend the split.
But Che, he's going low, going down, and that was a big spider, but Broxa still bought it. It's a 1-for-1.
Just another 1-for-1 trade, and meanwhile, there's wave crashes into the top lane. H2K would be happy if Soaz stayed around here to contest this, and there's this minute farm advantages here, and now in the mid lane, Caps is under pressure.
Suddenly Odoamne just comes out of nowhere.
The minions are gone.
Yeah, unfortunate. And, well, I mean, you see the difference in what happened last game. Caps still had some pressure this time, but it started to turn in H2K's favor.
Yeah, he's getting pressured in the Syndra versus Jace matchup twice now. First game very heavily because everything around him was falling apart, but right now, Febiven has been controlling his lane. Staying out of gank range, every kind of dash in from Caps got thwarted, and he got punished there because in the later stages of this 1v1, he is just bleeding turret damage.
Yep. Fnatic, they're bleeding turrets at the moment. Jankos
Not
trying
right.
his old tricks. This time it's an Infernal, though, that'll help them out. 15 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
Big for this team.
I'm really loving the approach from H2K. They're bouncing back after a very tough IEM here. This was after the hold already. They're kind of face checking here. I think you could definitely call this out as a minor mistake. But the best play they've already made right here at this point. This is, again, H2K built up some credit. They might over-push their advantage on two sides of the map. This is something they need to refine. But they held bottom lane while getting top lane for free. They were forcing Fnatic into a forced maneuver where they're trying to split the map, and they held on.
And they just come up with a win so far. 2,000 gold, the lead. 2 Dragons ahead, 1 Infernal, 1 Ocean. Odoamne and Soaz are battering each other, but Odo is definitely getting the better of it. Still sitting on similar items for those two, but honestly, the story is starting to look very different. And not so different from last game.
Yeah, the draft adaptations as well from Crawley. You know, taking away that Maokai in ban phase 2 to get the preferential Nautilus. Kind of hoping Fnatic wouldn't pick it up or find an answer as a counter pick. Fnatic didn't. Fnatic went for jungle priority. They went for Elise over Kha'Zix instead of the Nautilus pickup. And they wanted to make it work, but so far Broxa, he's had some presence, but he hasn't been able to shut down Jankos at all.
Yep. It does seem to shine some of the experience difference there. Jankos, I mean, this is a guy that is honestly one of the legendary junglers here in Europe, still actively playing.
And he just got another class in jungling by Karsa as well.
It's true. He can still learn some things for sure, but he's taking them with him this time around, and he's showing them to Broxa, hey, take a look at this. Down in the bottom lane, pressure keeps on mounting. Jesus and Reckless trying to finish off the minions on the wave, but look where H2K are heading, all towards mid.
They know it's only a couple hits left on the mid lane turret. Usually you would see mid lane push and roam bottom here to get the turret, but if it's this easy to take it, obviously you make this play first.
Bevan did take a chunk of damage, courtesy of Caps, but doesn't matter. They got the tower. That's number 2 now. Fnatic unable to find anything back.
Yeah, and then Nuclear needs to stay safe, so there's no curtain call catching him out, so he yields the pressure there. This may cost H2K the bot lane tier 1, but it's so important to open up mid early.
Nuclear, man, 4 kills on this guy. He's really exploding this game.
And Fnatic is kind of squeezed out of vision, because they could have easily had Broxa at least walk into lane in bot lane, put some pressure, maybe push Nuclear on the turret, but they're so starved for vision, maybe just beyond River, that they're so scared to move anywhere.
Does seem like Fnatic are cowed for the time being. Jesus and Reckless still trying to hang on to this tower. It's at half its health. Che and Nuclear are marching up, and there's the piercing arrow.
Yeah.
It's gonna connect. Surprise, surprise.
Odoamne disappeared in the top lane. He's getting deep vision in the enemy jungle. He's also constantly ready to teleport, putting Fnatic on the back foot. Soaz is in full vision, so his teleport will be very easily spotted when he's channeling it.
So many options for this team, and now Odo's actually just gonna start on Raptor Camp. Reckless and Jez, they're gonna give up the Ghost here.
Yeah,
Ghost Blade, exactly.
Because again, guess who disappeared? Because Syndra and Kha'Zix are in the river right now. They disappeared. They're putting pressure on Reckless and Jezis, and they're looking to not get caught.
Pinging them out, so they spot him, but H2K, they don't need to take the kills. They know they can take the towers.
Yeah, and tag team players here. Odoamne peeled from top. He's now holding mid, because Fnatic's reaction is to go mid.
Trying to force it now. Nuclear pops his Ghost Blade, looking to rush down towards this mid, but this tower is still very healthy. These minions are not as big as they would seem, and Fnatic are not even going to attempt to push on it.
Yeah, they move back to the jungle. Now they get the inside track on the mid lane and the bottom lane. This could prompt an invade for vision. There's not many wards left here, so it's actually just one deep control ward for some chip damage on tier 2. And look at these map moves from H2K, constantly moving the pieces on the board. Che and Jankos moving wherever they need to support. They supported Feven with mid. They supported Nuclear with bot. Odoamne took over the lane clear duty in mid, while Feven roamed from mid to bot.
At least in the early mid game, H2K, they look like a well-oiled machine. We'll see if it gets into the late, if it even does, how clean they can continue to look. But right now, they've given few opportunities, few avenues for Fnatic to respond.
And they will give Fnatic a moment to breathe right here, because the side stones need to get refreshed. More wards need to be reclaimed. Soaz disengages here. Again, they saw Syndra move. And Feven knows that he's very likely being spotted by a ward, but it doesn't matter. As long as you can't get collapsed on, you're adding pressure. And as long as you arrive back safely into mid, hang on, Febby.
Oh, he walks right into it. Cleanse, flash immediately. Broxa tried to make the play.
That's the one caveat. You need to get back to mid lane in time to catch this wave right here. And you need to do it safely, or you need to be willing to give up your summoners.
Well, Feven showed that he definitely was more than willing to do it right off the bat. Both of them burned. Odoamne gonna blast cone his way. Hopefully he thought away from the rest of Fnatic, but he's tanky enough to not really care about it.
Crouching Tiger, Flying Anchorman. It was actually so sad for Fnatic. They see him move into the jungle. They set up a trap. He hits the blast cone, and he doesn't even get popped beyond his shield.
He just keeps walking. Yeah, he doesn't really mind too much. There'll be another Infernal in a minute. Baron's obviously about to hit the Rift. H2K, they've been slowly cranking up the gears here, slowly getting themselves into a faster pace of play. But Fnatic, it seems like the options are running out. And H2K, they might be ready to hit the throttle.
Yeah, and if Odoamne wants to duel Soaz here, both these guys can nullify each other's teleport. H2K is on the offensive. Just need to keep track of each other.
Tier 2 still being poked down. It's like the laning phase just keeps on continuing. Nuclear just keeps finding arrows, and Fnatic are slowly getting pushed back into their base.
Because Fnatic is playing so passive and getting pushed in again, H2K are not making their traditional mistake where they have Odoamne join the team, where they feel like he needs to be part of them to be there engaged, to just force the fight, to take the win, even though because they're 6,000 gold ahead. He's actually just keeping Soaz busy, and H2K are very cleanly picking Fnatic apart.
Once again, and Fnatic, they're just not really even trying for anything. As you said, backing away time and time again. Now Infernal is going to come up in 10 seconds. It's looking great for H2K to close the series out.
They're getting some good RNG on these dragons as well.
Yeah,
2 Infernals, the early Ocean. The first Ocean to have is actually really good in the early game, because that sustain helps you quite a bit, and then picking up 2 Infernals right after, it's like a dream scenario.
Yeah. But luck does favor the prepared, and H2K definitely came more prepared than Fnatic did on this series.
Does it? Does it favor them?
I've heard that said to me a lot.
Is it luck then?
I don't know.
I feel like luck favors them. I don't know, maybe. They can get more out of it. I guess that's...
You get more out of your luck if you're prepared for it. If you expect the luck.
Yeah,
the bad and the good, Crepo.
Fnatic, never lucky, man. Never lucky, rubber ducky.
I thought you were going somewhere different with that.
No.
Oh, I guess that's how it goes. So, Skull Crab Vision easily cleared away. Fnatic, they got it in the top side, though, so they have their eyes set on when are H2K going to be trying for this Baron. They may not be making the proactive plays themselves, but Fnatic know that they can at least try to counter-engage.
They're looking to pull a trigger here, because they have their top laner still on the top side of the map. They want to force mid, or get the teleport out of Odoamne, but now Soaz is just getting chunked.
Chains on again, and if he flashes right in, he does. There's a wild growth. Now they're caught in the choke point. Let's see if they can make a play. Jankos is not going to be able to get there in time as he was turned into a munchkin.
Odoamne walked down here, looking for a pick, maybe.
Well, they want to back away. H2K don't want to let them do it.
Nuclear pinging the side wave, so he's peeling off. Hopefully his team has heard that call. Jankos and Che need to be somewhat careful. They're essentially invading 5v4.
Soaz can't find a safe place to back. Jankos, Che still waiting in this brush. Fnatic, they could try to counter collapse here. Nuclear's not with the team.
Yes, Nuclear's not with the team, and last game, this is essentially what cost H2K about 3,000 gold off their lead. Luckily, they had a big lead.
Now he's joining him.
He's walking back. Still not there, though, technically.
No, Brox is a little bit preoccupied. There's a lot of damage there.
And there's no CC, except this Cocoon.
Pinging on the Baron, but Odo's going to walk right into this face check. If you got to have somebody to do it, the Anchor is not going to pick up who he wanted. Jankos a little bit too low. Piercing arrow doesn't find Reckless on the back half. And the barrel's going to separate Odoamne. Do Fnatic have the damage to take him down? Doesn't look like it. And he turns right back in. The curtain call, though, is going to send him scurrying. Che takes 1. Che takes 2. Che misses a 3rd. And the 4th is intercepted by Nuclear. No damage, not enough for Fnatic.
Yeah, disengaged. They have so much kind of room to play with here, because Odoamne is so damn tanky. Like, when Soaz threw him into the team, I think the collective faces of Fnatic was like, do we really want this Nautilus in our team right now? Like, I don't know. Like,
Guy's pretty big.
Yeah,
Spirit Visage.
He's hurting.
Oh man, Sunfire Cape. And they found Jazz. Oh, whoa! Moly, Nuclear!
And that's what they've been doing. H2K have been setting up this Baron vision. That's why they were so aggressively fighting here around this red buff. It's not like they were coming for a red buff.
Yeah, and they're not pulling the trigger on Baron either. They're keeping it controlled right now.
Not yet. Yep. Concede when Fnatic come. No 50-50 Barons. It's Misfits' head analyst's favorite quote. It was very sad today when Misfits went for multiple even odds Baron attempts.
For H2K, I think these odds are pretty much in their favor as they're down half on the Baron.
Caps
still, there's Caps.
Steal.
He sends in the shock blast a little too early, and that's going to be secured up.
It was also not really hitting the Lasher, so...
Yeah, kind of went behind it.
It's very hard to steal when you're not hitting the objective. But at least he knew.
Tried. Come on, Crepo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I like... Some people think it's... Or they feel pity when they see a team with like nothing to do and like no way of counterplay, and they just want them to do something. I enjoy it. I enjoy kind of Fnatic's pain right here, because it means that H2K is playing clean macro. If you leave your opponent with no options other than to make a bad play, you're playing League of Legends well.
Well, H2K definitely seem to be playing it well in Fnatic. They barely scratched the armor of Odoamne, but Jankos, they've turned around here, and Fnatic are caught up. Jez is getting pulled in, nether grasped and taken down. Nothing much Fnatic can do except go on the retreat path. And H2K just slowly marching to victory.
Yeah, marching to victory here. I think they might run mid for the tier 2 tower right there. Jez has used exhaust early. Jankos held his engage. Much more patience here. Obviously, with a goal lead this big, it's very easy to compliment him for it, but baby steps.
Oh, he canceled Caps.
Oh, he found Caps. He doesn't know.
He doesn't know he found him.
He actually doesn't know that he's in the rush.
I think he's a little preoccupied on mid right now.
When he watches the replay or somebody points that out, that's when you have like this moment of, I knew I should have checked that rush.
Playing so well, he didn't even realize he stopped the backs. All right, so 25.5 minutes, H2K, they knocked down an inner tower here. Fnatic, they've only got one in the entire game that was on bottom. Big Barrel comes out, separates, clears the minion wave. But H2K just don't really care. They've got themselves a Baron buff still available. That means they've got extra power to keep pushing the cannons in the back, doing the work. Heavy artillery coming out now. Odo's caught. He just sits in the cocoon. This guy's so big.
This must be stressful for Fnatic right there. Would definitely recommend a visit to the spa after this one.
You really do delight in other people's pain.
I mean, come on.
It was too
You're
easy.
suffering, you have a roster change. You make a tweet that you're not going on vacation. What do? You go on vacation. Like, why? Just practice at home, play 10 hours of solo queue. I don't know, build team, like, trust, build team synergy. There is no synergy in this lineup.
You're not wrong, man.
There's no synergy in this draft. These guys are not working together. They're just playing their individual game. Guess what? We're losing. Go next.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it looks like that's the time for Fnatic unless they can find something desperate. But they're 10,000 gold down at 6-3. Not a whole lot of kills this game, but H2K playing it out cleanly. You got to be careful there. Febiven and Nuclear chunked a bit, but there's a redemption.
I mean, they haven't made the signature H2K oopsie yet. They have quite the credit build up. 9,000 gold almost here this early in the game. What a clean game from H2K. Can they bring it home?
Caps is still around the side, looking for that all-important shock blast. Jankos taking a few shots, probably watching on eagerly as his team looks to finish the game out, but the curtain calls up. Odo's just going to tank it all. Maybe not that one because Che intercepted. Caps on the side, chunks Che out, but still, it's just a parting shot. They can't find an opening on H2K, and now Caps, oh no, he jumps right in to his own death, and Febiven claims it.
Yeah, I really like the aggressive flash there from Che because the Edge of Night Shield disappeared because of the Void Spikes.
Oh, Jez is gone. Before we can even get to it now, Soaz, he's isolated out as Jankos looks to turn for him once again.
Patience, H2K, do not overchase right now.
Very slow chase from Odoamne as he sends out the dredge line. You can't flash away from that one, buddy. And Odo sends the anchor on to Reckless. One more. Otto will do it. He finishes the job while Soaz and Broxer are both on him. Meanwhile, H2K's down bot, finishing towers.
Yeah, 2 KDA players, 3 team players right there going for the actual finish here. No, Jankos keeping the one opposing member that's alive, busy. There's an Elysian base, but he doesn't even count anymore at this point. What a clean, calm, and collected game from H2K.
All according to plan, H2K say as they take down the last Nexus turret. Jankos, he's gonna not even bother about finishing off Soaz because it's all Nexus, it's all victory. H2K, almost no snags on this one. They come back from IEM and they make a hell of a statement, dismantling, dismembering, and destroying this Fnatic team. GG, well played.
Yeah, this must feel very good for the H2K organization right here. Clean 2-0 right here over Fnatic after struggling IEM. We go back to it all the time because these guys, they haven't had that much rest. They came back, suddenly you're playing on a new patch. You see a lot of people play hyper-aggressive, like Renekton dives everywhere. You see these Raptor invades that you luckily know about from IEM already, but H2K adapted. Some beautiful starts in game 1. They really played to their win conditions. I loved seeing how they leveraged every single advantage into a team advantage, especially Che peeling off, playing with Jankos. Great improvement. Excited to see more.
Yeah, this H2K team looks like things are only going to get better from them for here. And maybe they needed that wake-up call at IEM. Obviously, they made it all the way to the semifinals, but
they were so close.
They were.
Flash goals.
They challenged them too, and not a lot of teams did that, but they definitely shut down Fnatic completely in this series. There was little this team could do.
Yeah, back to the drawing board. Fnatic working on the core issues one by one. There's not much time left here in the league, but they're still set up to make playoffs, and you can improve. Look at the growth that Misfits have shown in 5 weeks, right? Imagine if, with this much talent on the Fnatic lineup, if you could put some of that growth in there and have these guys like enable the early game potential of Broxa maybe, and then have Caps start carrying mid game. Have the veteran leadership from Reckless shine through. But not this game, as we hear familiar chants.
That's how you know these guys are in a good place.
They also have the sneaker synergy, I think, going
Oh yeah,
on.
no, a lot of teams IM had it too. I love it.
That's where I like where esports is leveling up. It started with jerseys that were all the wrong size, and then these guys were suddenly somewhat matching their pants. Now matching sneakers. I think we're up for a bright future here, Pyro.
Oh yeah, they're leveling up the gameplay. They're leveling up their sneaker game. These guys got it all for sure. H2K, they have to be so happy with this one. I mean, what a hell of a performance for this team.
No, yeah, really clean. A couple of throws in game 1, much better in game 2. They still have this tendency to keep Odoano with them when they have a lead. I think it's okay to bring your top laner in and just kind of brute force the play when you have a large lead. It is just sometimes very hard in the game to assess when do we have that lead and when should we just play the conventional kind of 1-4 split with the push advantage and then the peel off.
But for the moment, they're definitely sitting pretty. I mean, coming into today, it was kind of uncertain if them or the Unicorns were going to be the better team in their group, but you know, Unicorns lost in a close series, in a tense series.
Yeah,
but H2K, big step.
Unicorns took a way bigger hit at IM than H2K did.
Absolutely. Well, that's it to wrap up the day. We're going to step into the post-game lobby.
Thank you so much, and welcome to the post-game lobby. Still here with Stress and the Fisher, where we are going to look back on today's games and banter a bit, have a bit of discussion, starting with the series that just wrapped up. As Pyra said, H2K can be happy. It was the big question. Will they be really tired? Will they not really have any motivation? Will they keep it?
I want to say something there.
I see it because you're doing this.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So it's funny because, yeah, we keep saying, like, you know, are they tired? You know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we are now 6 weeks into the LCS. Like, teams normally play a full split and then they're tired. So it's kind of funny, this whole, like, oh, some teams needed a break and then other teams didn't need it. And
10 games in 3 days, though.
Yeah, no, but that's great, you know, but, like, point is, like, they would scrim those games anyway. So, like, it's not like they wouldn't be playing if it was a normal week. So it's actually funny that there's so much talk about, is a team drained after an event like this, when technically, actually, no, they should just be even better because they got to play so many extra games. And, like, H2K never seemed like they even talked about needing a break or anything. So that's why it's funny that Fnatic needed a break.
And that's what we were getting to, actually.
Yeah, that's my point. Is like it's weird that one team needed one, or some teams needed one, and other teams obviously didn't because we only 5 weeks.
Maybe different teams have different needs and different dynamics, different, you know.
I think the problem about that is, though, when you're clearly having problems that, you know, Mitch was talking about it towards the end, there's no synergy in the team. There's no nothing. People are kind of stepping forward at really random times. Nobody seems to be talking to each other. And the improvements we saw when Broxa joined the Fnatic lineup in the early game got so hard shut down in this game by Yankos just walking into the jungle and being like, okay, all of these camps are mine. Fnatic just didn't have any real positives in these games.
They tried bot lane.
They did. Let's take a look at it. They tried. I mean, they tried something.
They tried something to make a play, but it's kind of the story for Fnatic right now. Like, they're setting up this, like, really slow siege, and then by the time they dive in, they actually wait for the minions to almost be dead, and then it's just like Source goes in, flashes away, and no one can follow up. And meanwhile, Odamis is just sitting top lane, taking a tower. And this is like a very traditional or standard Fnatic play right now, where they're kind of all in on a very risky move, while the enemy team is kind of just doing their, should we say, standard, which is like, you know, just don't TP anything, like just take top tower, and then all Nuclear had to do was flash the body slam, and then they get a 1-for-1 here after, but they've already now fallen behind 4k gold, so it's pretty tough.
It sounds very doom and gloom while we're talking about it for Fnatic. This lineup is still good enough to, I think, make playoffs. I think the four teams.
Well, is that because
of
them or because of the teams under them?
Well, that's kind of the nature of competition, right?
Yeah.
It is, although Fnatic against the top teams don't look great, they still are better than Vitality, Origin, Roccat, and Giants. And yes, they're probably going to lose a couple of games along the way, but I think Fnatic should just concentrate on getting to that playoff position and improving as much as you can for summer.
But I wonder, again, improve for summer, I agree, but I wonder if for Fnatic as an organization, is it enough just to be part of playoffs? Because they look like one of the weakest of the top 6 teams, so we shouldn't right now expect them to do a whole lot in a quarterfinal, but there's still some weeks, you know, maybe they can improve a lot before that. It's not looking very likely at the moment.
Not at the moment. We are going to move on for a second because we have an interview standing by with one of the members of H2K, so we're going to head over to Quickshot.
Thank you very much, Sharks. I am joined by the cool, the calm, the collected EULCS. First of all, congratulations on the win. Did it feel as easy for you to play as it was for us to watch, how easily you took down Fnatic?
To be honest, I felt like in the first game, the guy who did draft for Fnatic should probably not get food or not get paid because it was so bad for my eyes, you know? I almost, like pretty much I knew from the beginning that we will win this game no matter what. And then second game, the draft kind of improved, but it was still a little bit shaky. And I felt like their players were hinting it, so.
Thing is, that's something we've heard a lot. Fnatic's drafts all split. Is that something that you guys as H2K have also noticed? As a team, they just don't seem to maybe read the meta or pick the appropriate champions? What do you think?
It's really hard to judge why Fnatic is doing such mistakes. I think maybe they just can't read the meta, maybe they don't know what's good. I felt like after IEM we improved a lot and they stayed the same, so that's why we kind of rolled over them this game. Even though it was not a flawless game, we still kind of just won it. And they are just, I don't know what are they doing, to be honest, but...
It's a really tough situation for Fnatic. You mentioned IEM. I actually wanted to ask you a few questions about your experience in Katowice, playing into the crowd, losing a series to Flash Wolves that you guys should have won. You know, that game 2 team fight. Well, talk to me about that series first of all. What was going through your mind?
Hey bro, stop it.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, Flash Wolves are a really good team, and we are the only European team that took a game from them and almost took the second one. I think we improved a lot on IEM. We kind of understand how to play the Worlds meta instead of EU meta, and Worlds meta seems, even though it's not as efficient, it's way more easy to play the meta like this, and it feels like Worlds meta just fits our team better as well. So, you know, after the second game against Flash Wolves, I think what was missing was patience because, you know, we didn't have to teamfight mid lane. We had to bait Nashor. We had to play it slower. I feel like we got a little bit too excited in the game, in the second game, because, you know, first game was kind of collective. We were doing mistakes. We were losing some team fights, but we still managed to close the game. Second game was very similar, where early game was very smooth. At some point, though, in team fights, we started making huge mistakes. We started splitting up. We were over-eager, and that did cost us the BO3.
It was great watching you guys play. H2K, for most of your games, most of the time, look in control and calm and collected. It's just those small mistakes that seem to cost you guys. What was it like playing in Katowice again with that whole crowd? You had huge smiles every time the crowd was cheering for H2K and EULCS.
I mean, it's really nice to play in front of a crowd that cheers for you and for your team. And since, you know, I was in Poland and I love Polish crowd and I always wanted to play in front of a huge Polish crowd, then that was like dream come true. And every time they would cheer for us, it was so pleasant. And it was so amazing. It's really hard to describe it, but the feeling I had on stage was just like, I was a god, you know, like, I was not Faker because I'm not good, I mean, compared to Faker, but still, you know, they're cheering for me and supporting me, so it was insane.
First Blood King, I mean, you've got a different title, not exactly the unkillable Demon King, but it still counts, EULCS.
Maybe.
Let's bring it back to the EULCS. Today, both teams that are in the running for number 2 team behind G2 won, you guys and Misfits. Next week, you're playing Misfits. Who is the second best team if G2 is the first?
I honestly think that Misfits are playing the Worlds meta since the very last week already, I mean before IEM. So I think they are really strong opponents. I think that they made a lot of mistakes in mid and late game against UL, and that's why the games were shaky. But as we could see, their early game is really on point, and they play very similar style to us right now. So I think this matchup will be really tough. I think they are great. I think they have great players, and it's going to be way, way harder than in Fnatic.
It will be, but you haven't answered my question. Who is the second best team? Is it H2K or is it Misfits?
Well, we'll have to see. Just, you know, tune into the European LCS next week and... Yeah.
Okay, well, seeing as though EULCS won't actually give me the answer, next week we will see that game. Dude, thank you so much for the interview. Congratulations on taking on Fnatic.
Thank you.
All right, great. We're going to head back over to the analyst desk for the rest of post-game lobby.
No, keep talking. That's so entertaining. But thank you. Always great to hear from EULCS, of course. A lot of interesting things in there about the second best team and all that. But I do want to talk about one thing. He talked about how the World's meta might not be as effective, but it's easier to play. Why is that exactly?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to drafting like very strong pushing lanes and then having a jungler who can invade the enemy jungle a lot. It's what we saw Jankos do in both series right now. It's why we talk about these Raptor camps. You know, take your own and you play around the enemy Raptor camp. You get yourself an experience advantage as a jungler, and you use that to kind of further take over the map. But a lot of it comes down to having these very strong early lanes that can push in the minions, so you can join for potential fights.
Exactly, and you know, when we were seeing Misfits earlier attempt that against some of the later scaling, you can see if you're not pushing the advantage, that's where the picks like the Orianna, like the Rise that we've seen in weeks gone by, can have that effect. But one of the things that like Flash Wolves were doing was never giving you that opportunity because they were so clean on taking the Syndra and the Graves and, you know, the Lee Sins of the meta and just being like, okay, now we're going to dive you, and you're never having an opportunity to scale.
Yeah, and it's always fun to see how things that are actually considered standard is something that teams can forget and then have to pick it back up. Like coming into this split when the jungle camps were changed, it was like a slower respawn time. Everyone was talking about, oh, pushing lane in mid, pushing mid lane, because then my jungler can invade, we can steal away their camps, they don't get anything, slower respawn, it's great. A few weeks later, no one really talks about it, and it kind of goes away, and people start playing like a lot of scaling.
Is that like an evolution of the meta?
I don't know if it is, because it was already a thing. Then they swapped away from it, and then they go to IEM and they play against like Kasa and the Rox Tigers, who did this exact strategy, and like a lot of Syndra from Mabel, and they're like, oh yeah, it's really strong. Yeah, we should do this too.
That's why it's so fun always, like an actual World Championship, when it's a couple of weeks and you see that meta evolving within the microcosm of that championship. But we're not there yet. We're long not there yet. But the question is, who will get there from EU? That is always the long-term question. And Misfits, again, today, even though they are a rookie squad in the LCS, they looked fantastic. They played the Unicorns of Love and asserted their dominance and again said, no, we are here to stay.
They looked great today. Like, let's be real. For the majority of the games, Misfits were in control in the early game. It was just the late game decision-making that we heard Jankos talking about that was a little suspect from Misfits. I really liked how they played around their vision control, their early game, and tried to punish Unicorns for all of these, like, Orianna picks where they needed extra time.
Exactly, and I think overall, like, we talked about this during the series, you guys said it on the desk, like, very enjoyable series to watch with a lot of, like, fights, but also some very good, like, macro moves here and there, especially from Misfits in some of the games, and overall, very exciting team to follow. And within Europe, yes, they're making some mistakes, but they're not making enough to not beat some of these other top teams, and that's why this H2K Misfits series is going to be so exciting, because they have like these moments in games where they look like so good. You're just like, man, this is clean, you're getting the early advantage, oh, nice rotation, we love it, good vision. And then both teams have these like mistakes, especially towards the late game, where things can fall apart. So it's going to be fun to see these two kind of teams play each other when they have the same weaknesses and strengths.
Oh, absolutely, and I think there's a big strength that H2K have that Unicorns did not in this series, and that is the fact that Nuclear and Che are not going to get killed in lane by Ignar.
That's true.
Which means Ignar can't go out of lane quite as often, and that shuts down some of that playmaking. Like, that's such a hype 2v2 for me, because now it's Hans Sama and Ignar getting tested again. We saw against Venomithi they didn't really have that much opportunity. Now let's see it against Nuclear and Che.
I mean, there's another thing I like about both teams is that I feel like almost every player is one where you've got to be like, ooh, I want to see that matchup. Power Vivo versus Febiven, two of the best performing mid laners right now. Odo Amne versus Alfari, two of the best performing top laners. Kakao Jankos, two of the best performing junglers. Like, I feel like every matchup here, like the one coming into the split you wouldn't highlight would be the bot lane matchup specifically. But because Nuclear and Che is obviously doing much better and Hansama and Ignar's been doing really well, it's like every lane, there's a lot of positives and you really want to see how they match up against each other.
It'd be very exciting, which, you know, it could be right now, but if
we should probably watch it. I think we should all watch it.
We are going to watch it. And also player of the series in that Misfits one was Kakao, was very close, and he always has such a good impression or such a good game. And the most important thing was like on Lee Sin in the last game, even late game where you are kind of just a kick bot, he did always find the opening
very good
to make
kick
it happen.
Bot. He found the correct kicks, and he also killed the AD carry a few times.
So many times. It was great, and always happy doing it as well. Every time we get the shot of Kakao, he's laughing.
Died, whatever.
I also like that Power Vivo. He had an interview. It was on Reddit where he talked about how like playing with Kakao is just like you get this like super positive environment because he's super happy.
The Huni
himself.
effect.
It's kind of the Huni effect, but he's also like super tryhard. So he watches, his own VODs. He plays a ton of solo queue all the time. Like there's never like a break for him specifically. It's always trying to improve while being this happy guy that makes everyone else around him happy. That's a great teammate to have.
It is one of the biggest improvements that Power of Evil has made in game. Not just morale.
Being happy.
He is a lot more cautious about making these overextended plays. On Origin, on Unicorns, he used to be like, I'm going in, I'm going to try and make a play. Now you see him take a step and it's like, oh, should I go towards an Orianna that still has Shockwave? On Ari, yes, of course he's looking for the charm, but he knows he can rely on the rest of his team. It's a more controlled Power of Evil, and that's one of the reasons why he's succeeding.
Well, that's the arcs of mid laners that we've talked about a couple of times already with Perks, who said, first, I was reckless and doing good, and then I focused on the macro game and I took a step back. Febiven went through the same thing. Power of Evil went through the same thing.
Growing up.
They're growing up. They're growing into these fantastic players that we love to see, or growing back into their peak, like Febiven, who has done fantastically this split so far already. And it's so interesting to see for me the Misfits, because it is everything you need as a shining example of a challenger team coming into the LCS in terms of coaching staff as well. And even today, after their victory, nota bene, versus the Unicorns of Love, there was a tweet from Daku, the head coach, saying, well, disappointed with today's performance. Despite the win, it wasn't clean. We have stuff to work on, which is, of course, in stark contrast to other teams who would you be like, GG, go next.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And a lot of other teams also would be like, just give us a win. Like we really need a win right now. Where if you are Misfits, like week 1, if you got a 2-1 victory over Unicorns, you'd just be happy about it. But now, because you have become a top team, everyone looks at you like you are a top team. You have to act like a top team, which means if you feel like you're making, too many mistakes in your game as a coach and as a team, then these kind of tweets will happen because you're like, damn, we lost a Baron. They normally don't lose Barons. They lost game 2 as well. So I understand why he's like disappointed, but obviously also take a step back and realize we're week 6 and your team is doing really, really well.
And not only that, you're talking about taking a step back from the growth, the fundamentals of everything they've been talking about for the last 6 weeks, where they're like vision. We've been working on vision. Everything's about that macro game. We're still there. Even in a performance you're not happy with, their ability to restrict the Unicorns back into their own base in every single game still maintained, and that's really one of the strengths that was impressive.
I like the point you made, Shocks, before about, Misfits as an organization is doing everything correct, and they're now showing how they get rewarded by becoming this really good team, and I really agree, it's so important to see an organization who's clearly doing more than certain other organizations are doing in the EULCS, having built up this infrastructure already, investors, an owner who's super invested in the team. I saw the video of the gaming house recently as well. It's an apartment they basically built for these guys and it looks fantastic. So they're doing all these correct moves as an organization, and it's just great to see them actually then get rewarded. So other organizations can look at it and say, ooh, that's what we're aiming for, because it's actually working.
But as always, it's always, well, of course it's all going well when it's all going uphill and you're winning, and we have to see the other side of the medal, but I don't want to be a negative Nancy here, because they are winning and they are doing good, and it's all looking good for them. And after that game today, we can also see the Misfits starting to cement their place in the league overall. We asked the question, who's the second best team in Europe? Well, I'm going to ask you guys, because you're right. It doesn't really matter. There's definitely the second best team in Group A, but out of everything we've seen today?
We'll see you next week.
All right.
Yeah, I will go on record and say I think by a hair it's H2K. I think Misfits are looking very strong, and that's not to take anything away from them, but I do think H2K are probably just slightly better.
Is a Misfits' tendency to draw out games even when they have a lead a bigger problem than H2K's ability to throw games late?
Well, they kind of end up in the same thing. Where the game ends up being much longer, and we're like, whoa, we don't really 100% trust in your late games. I think some of the problems are just so similar that it's like when they do play each other, it's either which team gets the early advantage and then kind of snowballs and then, avoids the mistake and boom, they're going to cleanly win the game. Or it becomes one of these slugfests where it's like, you win, but now I win, and now you win, now I win. And it's kind of hard to predict the win in that sense. That's why I think it's really hard to say who's the second best, because I think both teams are even. I just don't know with G2, they're sitting there, we obviously have them number 1. I don't know how much better G2 is getting in Europe, because they seem to be needing practice with teams outside as well, and they can't get that.
I want to see them come out of the gates, drop some of this slower thing, and just crush everybody. It's a bit sad, though, talking about the second place team. Weeks 1 to 4, if you didn't put Unicorns there, everybody would think you're crazy. now we're 2 weeks on, IEM on, and Unicorns just seem to be figured out. And I want to see them regroup as a team as well.
Well, Mitch was saying before, like, they've built up some credit, right? They have now earned a position where they've earned the right to figure some things out. Of course, it can't last that long because we're week 6 already, but we'll see. And we'll also see G2 tomorrow as they will be going up against Vitality. Yes, I thought
Tough matchup.
And Splice versus Giants, and Misfits OG and Unicorns of Love versus Rocket. But the same question goes for them. Stress, you know, saw them at IEM. We did also see good things from them. They made it to the finals. Crushing loss there in the finals in the end, but looked good overall. Or
I'm mixed on G2's performance.
I asked Stress.
Oh, sorry. Because you're just looking at me. So
I know.
It's all right. I think we'll see the bot lane shore up some of the issues we saw at IEM. I don't think most of the European squads, especially not Vitality, aren't going to exploit any of the weaknesses that G2 had. So I think it'll be back to business as usual for them. I just want them to come out a bit faster, start pushing their lead. Just get fast wins, get clean wins. I know a lot of talk about average game
are we going to get into this discussion?
But if you're winning cleanly, normally you're winning quickly. That's what I want to see out of G2.
Yeah, I mean, I think G2's problem, again, is not winning games in Europe. It's improving from those games when it comes to the international stage, which is the goal. Same problem like TSM had last year in North America. They were winning and winning and winning, steps onto the international stage, and then suddenly you realize that the teams you were playing against in your own region just didn't punish whatever mistakes you would make. So when you made them against better teams, boom, punished, didn't make it out of groups. Same thing with G2. So I think that's like a bigger discussion or problem for them than necessarily like, was it a great IM? You know, will they bounce back? Like, they're playing Vitality tomorrow. That's going to be a 2-0 most likely in favor of G2. But I think Vitality is a team to follow in a sense. Like, can they claw their way back up? But like, G2 should take that game.
Yeah, and we should be very excited to watch how they do it and how good their League of Legends is that they show us.
already told us
right?
what the result is.
Hey, man, you spoiled the last game. You said 2-0 H2K, and it was...
No, I, for one, am excited to see what G2 brings to the Rift back from IEM. Well, we will see that tomorrow. It's time for us to close the client for the night. Thank you so much for watching, and tune in tomorrow as our coverage of the European LCS 2017 Spring Split continues. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Alright, I said it 3 minutes ago, I don't care about this one. I'm gonna eat you up.
Toughest test. Drake is being started. Shot cross comes in. It's stolen. It's stolen. Unicorns get it.
Oh, we stole the Drake. Nice, nice.
Misfits looking to run him down. He's rooted by a flourish. Alfari slices and dices and dances on the corpses. Misfits take down the Nexus turrets and they defeat Unicorns 1-0. Flash engage from Hillesung. Ash Arrow as well locks him down. The my words! Raiding and bouncing and bopping. Power of Evil gets shut down by the collateral damage. Unicorns fight to the death.
Baron Buff, Elder Drake, too much for Misfits to deal with, and Unicorns of Love tie the series. Okay, they got 2 minutes now, they can walk out, otherwise they will be very tough. Oh, Flash!
Oh, Hansama!
Very clean finisher, can they kick out Xerxes?
Xerxes coming in.
No!
Unicorns of Love! They steal Baron!
Nice, take it. Just not fight. Nice. Back.
Shockwave found nobody. Kakao looks for Samex. He goes legendary. They turn their attention to the Nexus, gaining the kills, getting the base, and Misfits defeat the Unicorn.
Roxa's gonna go low here. Odo, can he finish him off? He does for first blood.
This guy just got dunked on.
I'm really sad for the jungler. He's like, he's level 5.
Committed from Yankos. Big victory for H2K in game number 1.
Oh, piercing arrow, not enough damage, but so has going down. Caps going to the sky, but he is also going down to 0. Trade of kills. Still, there's Caps. He sends in the shock blast a little too early, and that's going to be secured up.
It's okay.
I go base. I'm basing a bot.
Yes. Fine, you can't flash away from that one, buddy. And Odo sends the anchor on to Reckless. One more auto will do it.
Have you just stolen?
They make a hell of a statement, dismantling, dismembering, and destroying this Fnatic team.